Hey everyone, I want to review some of the films I've been watching lately. I recently saw Rebecca. That is a remake of a film from 1940 that actually won Best Picture. It's a film by the master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock, who made such classics as Rear Window, The Birds, North by Northwest, Psycho. And to an extent, it's not as famous as those, but in some ways it's his most elegant film. It's certainly his most literature-based film. It's based on a famous novel, and in a way, it's kind of a little bit of a film, kind of like The Exorcist. It's kind of a little bit of a body horror genre. I saw the newer film. It was remade with Kristen Scott Thomas, Lily James, and Armie Hammer in roles that Joan Fontaine, Laurence Olivier, and Judith Anderson really made iconic. Those are three of the best performances of that decade. And in this version, I would say that it's hard for Armie or Lily or Kristen to do anything more than imitation. Kristen kind of does something with the role, so that's kind of nice. And Lily James is a capable actress. The film, I would say the best thing about it is the way it looks. The interior decorations. I also enjoy that the romance is a bit more, can be more overt between Mrs. and Mr. De Winters. In the old sense, it was just, they might not have even been holding hands. They definitely weren't kissing or anything like that. And this is kind of you could see a full courtship that you couldn't have seen in the 80s. I also dislike the idea that what might have been subtextual, a lesbian relationship, is now textual, because it seems like cinema these days likes to just put more lesbian relationships on screen, and I'm not sure if it really needed it. I also saw The Trial of the Chicago 7, which has a really great cast from Eddie Redmayne, Mark Rylance, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Sacha Baron Cohen, Jeremy Strong, John Carroll Lynch, Frank Langella, a lot of heavyweights. Hopefully some of these people get nominated for Oscars because they deserve it. And it's a film about a chapter in history where some people were wrongly put on trial. It happens all the time. There have been Oscar-winning movies about this. But this was definitely a film with a lot of twists and turns. The real star of the movie is Aaron Sorkin, because whenever Aaron Sorkin writes something, whether it's Social Network or Moneyball or A Few Good Men, people make a big deal of it. And I have to say that I always thought Aaron Sorkin was a pain. But when he directed his own two films, Molly's Game and this one, for some reason they're really good and they're really restrained. I always find Aaron Sorkin just irritating because he has to make smart characters blatantly smart to the point of obnoxiousness. I would never want to interact with an Aaron Sorkin character because they're always showing how smart they are. They're always speaking in tangents like they have a mental illness driven by their high IQ. And there are a lot of different flavors of characters in this story. It's not overtly any sort of love story, which is good because Aaron Sorkin doesn't write romance very well. It's an interesting, absolutely, it's a film about a sham trial, so the storyline isn't about the exoneration or the justice of these people. It's a film with, I think, a lot of sideways, jagged curves. I also just saw Desperados, which is a Nasim Pedrad movie. Nasim Pedrad is one of those people who was on Saturday Night Live for a while. She's the first Iranian-American actress to be cast on the show. She was there for 5 seasons. She was overshadowed quite a bit by Kristen Wiig, but she lasted way longer than Jenny Slater, Abby Elliott, or Casey Wilson, or Michaela Watkins, who were in her era. And she's carved some really great, nice roles for herself. She's been on New Girl, she was on Aladdin, and I've noticed that a lot of romantic comedies basically involve someone falling for one person and realizing that another person in the picture is the person they're going to go for at the end. I first saw this in, I think, Sweet Home Alabama, but I've been seeing a lot lately. I guess I'm not going to spoil a lot of the ones where this is the thing that happens a lot. But I think that this is a really, in some ways, it's a very honest, it's a very kind of honest look at how love works and how love should work. It kind of has those lessons that a really good love movie does. Is it teaches you about love, like in this case, if you are trying really hard to put yourself in the other person's fantasy, love isn't going to work. If you're trying to not show your the bad sides of yourself to someone else, it's not going to work. If you're trying to project an image, you're going to have to keep up that image through every stage of that relationship after that initial stage. So these are a lot of negatives that the movie is very direct in approaching. It has Anna Camp and Sarah Burns as the two sidekicks. I mean, this formula's worked quite often. I'm thinking of like Ibiza, has Vanessa Bayer and Phoebe Robinson, and I can't remember who else. It's like a rule of three. Bridesmaids has like Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. Kristen Wiig, that's like a group of like 7, but it's definitely, I don't know, I think I feel like I've seen a lot of Gang of Three movies. Lastly, Borat. Borat 2 is something that I have seen. I thought it was a very intelligent movie. I think we should rewatch The Dictator, because Borat, I mean, it certainly gives you an appreciation for the degree to which even the things that seem entirely improvisational were scripted. So Sacha Baron Cohen has been a master of scripted comedy. He's been a master of improvised comedy with real people. It's known for the last 2 minutes. I mean, that's the shock. Borat was shocking. Nothing in Borat 2 is shocking up until the Rudy Giuliani moment. But that does not mean that it doesn't have quite a bit of value and humorous content. I think I liked Azamat a little better than Maria, or Tartar. Maria Bukalova, I think is the name of the actress. A lot of people think she's great. I mean, I admire anyone who's gonna act alongside Sacha Baron Cohen and do his thing. He has that pattern of Bruno, and The Dictator also had him working with a sidekick, and I admire anyone who's gonna do crazy stuff. I think it's a pretty solid. I think it's a really must-see film. It doesn't expose the kind of like underbelly of US. You kind of are onto his tricks more than you would have earlier. I mean, for instance, he goes to a pro-life pastor, urging him to, allow an abortion, and we know what's going to happen. We know the tricks. We know we're more aware of the narrative in the second film, but that does not necessarily mean that I don't admire how the film is made as a work of art, nor am I not laughing. It's just a little different the second time around, and it's certainly worthwhile. And I mean, in terms of sequels you're waiting for that don't disappoint, I would say that for my level of expectations, Borat 2 did not disappoint. So those are the 4 films that I'm going to review right now, and thank you so much for participating.